Sean McCann.
Join me in my new podcast, Resonant State. First show to be posted after my reboot, where I was taken offline, my money confiscated, my name tarnished, and maybe not tarnished, but they hemming and hawing like why exactly they just erased everything. But that being said, you know what? We live to fight another day, and maybe we just keep living that same day over and over again. And so, and that's exactly what my guest, Mr. Sean McCann, not related to John McCain, by the way, Sean McCann is going to be discussing, and we're going to talk about the movie Groundhog Day and consciousness. And that's our working title for the episode. And Sean is a very prolific podcaster, world famous skateboard champion. That's different Sean. And he's got the show Wake the Dead, great show. He's an all around great guy. I've known Sean for quite a while, and it's always just a real pleasure to be joined by him. And please check out my links, my donation buttons, or if you're interested, because I do have a lot of work I'd love to get out if people are feeling generous. But you know, things come and go, and even though try not to be attached to money in a certain way, money is attached to me. I don't know why. So
let's hope so.
Yeah, or okay, that's maybe not true, but anyways, so this this film, I think, presents an outlook that is a bit unique because there really is no explanation and no attempt of an explanation as to the cause, right? It's sort of, so it has that mysterious element. But Sean, why don't you go ahead and take it away? And if you want to, give an outline of the movie for people who haven't seen it, maybe I'm sure a lot of people have, but let's go ahead and start out here. And again, so we're going to discuss the film Groundhog Day and see what it can mean for us. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, greetings, and it's a pleasure to be here. And I'm sorry to hear about your censorship and money troubles like that. You just started your show. Like, it's not fair what they're doing, man. But I mean, you have a voice that's been online for a while. I'm sure you're on the radar. So, but anyway, if people can donate to help you get you going again, that would be very good. Saṃsāra.com. They'll find the donate page. But anyway, yes, I am host and creator of Wake the Dead. And you and I talk a lot about movies. Like it's a good avenue. It's to bring in other ideas because everybody's seen these films, and it's like a shared dream where we can discuss, the meanings of the symbols and, like that. And a lot of times we talk about some pretty terrible movies. I mean, we talked about Civil War, and we talked about today at least we're not talking about 120 Days of Sodom. Like at least we're not going down those we're not talking about like vampires eating babies. Like this one is like actually a good film. I know some of you are like, what? How is this true? Hollywood made a good film, and yes, Yes, it did. And it's Harold Ramis and the author here. I got him in my notes here. They created a wonderful, beautiful human story, and everybody can relate to it. We are all humans, and it turned out to be this wonderful Buddhist film, and it was not intended to be so. They thought it was funny to not explain the loop and why it's happening, and that non-explanation is also one of the phenomenon that we have to experience here as souls in flesh. Like, why are we here? What are we doing? What is this? Why is this place do these rules to, so that is another accidental. It's so like, yeah, this film is, it's created in 1993. So 93 right there is significant. 93 was the year that Tool created, there's the new era of their Crowleyan, the dawn of their Crowley age with the, I don't know, we talked a lot about the music in that time, but anyway, 93 is a big number. It for the Thelemites and for Hollywood, it is like to 93 is like, it is the gematria for will and agape. And really, like, at the end of the film, we'll talk about it. Bill Murray has agape. He has love for all and everything, for his fellow man, and that is what saves him. He has will to love everyone, and that is what frees him from this trap. So anyway, let's talk about what the movie is, right? So this guy, Bill Murray, is a weatherman. So he can predict the future, that type of thing. So that's ironic in a way. That was Harold Ramis's idea. So he's a weatherman who is full of himself. He's an ego, and he talks down to everybody. And he just wants what he can get out of people. And he thinks of himself as better than everyone. And everybody knows that. And they all treat him like, oh, there's the a-hole. Okay, step aside, right? And so then he goes to Pennsylvania to see Punxsutawney Phil, who is the groundhog, on February 2nd. Because he's a weatherman, he's doing this little segment about this groundhog doing the weather. And so he finds it's beneath him, but he's doing it anyway because it's his job, and he's like thinking he's going to get promoted into a better situation someday, but he's just trying to get through this day just to deal with this crap until he can move on to better things, right? So there's these beautiful, wholesome people everywhere. It's like paradise, this place that he's in. Everybody's happy and nice to each other. And, and he makes fun of them, and he walks away from them, and he's like looking down on them. And then there's this, and then they finish the broadcast, and they're trying to leave, and a blizzard keeps them from traveling out of this town. So they had to go back, and then he goes back into the same bed and breakfast he was in. And then he wakes up in the same bed, and it should be tomorrow, but it's not. It's the same thing over and over again. And his consciousness has to deal with what is happening. What is this? Like, why am I here, trapped in this place where, so every day he has to do it again. Every day is a chance to be a better man. It's like, ultimately it's a gift, but he doesn't see it that way. It starts off as like, this is hell. This is the worst existence. How can I, it's the worst day of the year. It's the coldest, bleakest, and so he decides to kill himself again and again. And then when he realizes that he can't do that, like he's stuck here in this place, then he says, oh, well, I must be a god. He starts telling this woman that he's interested in, oh, yeah, I'm a god. I know everything. And maybe God has just been here forever and he just knows everything. So he's cognizing what is happening and trying to understand the reality he's in. And then she's like, you're not a god, like your gods create trees and stuff, you just, anyway. And so he realizes he's not a god once he starts to do things for others instead of looking at himself and being only ego and look at me and what I want. And then I am a god, right? All of a sudden, then that falls away. And then he starts seeing others and he recognizes they are feeling, and he wants to alleviate their suffering. He ends up like changing these old lady's car tire. He's buying insurance from this guy, and he's just doing everything. He's saving a child from falling out of a tree. He knows every day this kid's going to fall out of a tree at this time. He shows up and grabs and saves him every day. And he's like, you never say thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. He just loves everything and everyone. And he ends up like, he was interested in this woman and being in love with this woman, Rita, and he's pursuing her every day. And then he doesn't have time to pursue her anymore because he's too busy helping the world and loving everything and everyone. And then they have the most perfect evening where like he is all of the people who he's been loving all reflect that love back at him. And Rita sees that and she's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then they spend the night together and he's in love with her. They are in love. And all of a sudden it's the next day. And he's like, oh, what the hell? Oh my God. Yay. And really he is fixed. It took all of those times to fix him and to make him recognize others and to love others. And you can't really find love until you learn to love others. And that right there is the Buddhist Saṃsāra. Like, to be trapped in this place, we have to go again and again, and we keep getting this karma, and we keep getting like harming ourselves into this place where we keep feeling the suffering. And to be like the Buddha, he was able to get off the wheel because he no longer had, at the time of dying, he no longer had ignorance in his mind. And therefore he was allowed to get off the wheel. Well, so, okay, please.
Yeah, just to qualify that. So in terms of like the Buddha, actually the Buddha, so he achieved enlightenment. So just briefly,
please.
I will say one of these things that I have a few. There's one fundamental concept in a lot of Buddhism, which is this concept of emptiness. So that's something I think is often misunderstood in the West and can be very potentially dangerous for European, American type of personality psyche structures. Okay. So, and we can see, that sort of emptiness, non-self, we've talked a few times about like, I'm really fascinated by the ChatGPT psychosis phenomena, my favorite being the guy that, within 9 days, successful career, went to have ChatGPT help him write a report. He ends up within 9 days, the world has ended. He's the last survivor in the future. He has to save the human race, but because it's in the future, he has to talk backwards to people. And this is a guy.
We got to do a show about that. That's like the doom scrolling episode we did, but like
this is
worse, way worse.
But so a lot of this is going on, and this shows. I'm just saying in general. I'll get to specific Buddhism, and I know you're the guest, but the Buddhism, we have to watch out for things that are. Carl Jung warned about this, right? In that you translate something to a different cultural system, it has a very different meaning, right? So, example, Tibetan, there is no word for low self-esteem. There's no word for lack of self-confidence. There's no, because they're just, you're embodied, you're here. It doesn't even, think about it. If you're raised, because you're not, it's an unnecessary installation. And yes, right. It may be okay. Anyways, so
it's funny that we talked about in your schooling how you had to wear that thing on the plate, the I lack, that whole shit. Like the Buddhists wouldn't even have that cognized. They couldn't do that to their children. This Western culture excuse my language, but this Western culture is poison. But go ahead, please.
No, well, not even Buddhism. That's just the different type of cultural grouping, connection with the nature, environment, family, tradition. It's just there, right? You know what I mean? It's so embedded and ingrained that you're connected with your ancestors. You're connected with the natural world around you. You're connected. You know who you are. You know what I mean? Now, lots of different things, people can all make choices, good, this and that goes into the concept of karma. But back to the Buddha, though. So the Buddha, Siddhartha Buddha, Prince Siddhartha Buddha, was a prince. So he was a royal, of noble birth. Had everything. Had his, he was set for life. Indulged. He had harems. He had, every kind of enjoyment, amusement, power, everything, right? And then one day he just went for a walk and just kept walked outside, right? And so then he just went, and they tried to send, occasionally people came to bring him back, but he ended up going through all the different types of potential spiritual practices, everything, right? Joined different groups. He even became like a fakir, where he was like literally a skeleton. Total skeleton, sitting on a bed of nails.
He ate one hemp seed a day.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah. And so what happened was the Buddha, and I've actually been there, which is pretty amazing. It's in a place called Bodh Gaya, and the actual tree, or the ancestor of that tree, the Bodhi tree, is right there. And I think it is a what do you call it? A cutting, because one of the Mughal invaders cut it down. Right. But Bodh Gaya is very interesting. It's a beautiful spot. But anyways, that tree is there, and it has all these concentric circles. It's very interesting. In Bodh Gaya, on the upper ring, all these beggars are reaching their hands through that. I may have some footage of it. They're reaching their hands through the wall. I mean, through the windows, whatever, because you're walking around, they're on the outside. So you have all these right on the upper layer, and it goes down all these concentric circles, right? But the Buddha basically said that I have a way out of this cycle, nirvana. And actually, though, nirvana does mean also snuffing out. Nirvana but it's liberation, right? From the wheel of samsara, from suffering, from this, all these things that ultimately never lead to everything. So one of the teachings is everything is impermanent, nothing lasts. Do you understand the nature of impermanence? Your life is impermanent. This moment is impermanent. Who you're talking to, there is nothing permanent. Even a mountain or even a galaxy ultimately is not permanent, right? So this impermanence, and an emptiness, and then also, of course, to do good deeds and karma. So there, but basically within this, it plays into this movie is that you have the reincarnation, right? So we have that both in Hinduism and Buddhism. And so reincarnation means what? You generate karma through your actions. And And the actions, though, it also depends on the intentionality of the action. If there's an unintentional bad, it's sort of almost like a legal term, but you generate these karmas. These karmas are sort of, you could say, as energetic weights. And it's sort of a, law of cause and effect, ripple. And then so your karmas they will follow you from lifetime to lifetime until you purify this. And so one of the things is, the ocean of suffering run dry. So in a certain way, the Buddha, by him waking up, actually, we're also liberated, right? And there's a great, there's one of there's two, like, sort of, they call it mental viewpoints, and I'll leave it at this, but one of them, they use it sort of like turning the mind to the Dharma. One of them is that everybody in the entire universe is enlightened, and you're the only one that's not enlightened. You're the one that got left behind.
That's how it is in this place.
Yeah,
This Punxsutawney,
exactly.
everyone's perfect and nice to each other. Yes, okay.
And the other one is that you're enlightened and everyone else isn't, and you have to save all of the human beings, right? But these are like, so you're an awakened Buddha, and you're here on this earth to heal people. But the other one is that you find out that actually everyone is already a Buddha, and they're just, come on, dude, you're holding everything back. It's just you.
But dude, that is this movie. That's so perfect. Oh man. Cause okay. So this is the perfect avenue to speak. I mean, as you're speaking this and talking about like the Bodhi tree, I'm in my mind, I'm like, yes, this is the show I wanted to hear. Like, this is the conversation right here. Because I mean, sure, Groundhog Day, it's a Hollywood film. Okay, blah, but this is really the core of what we really want to talk about is this, like, being alive and understanding this place, and that's what this movie cuts to the core of, but it does it in an accidental way. So I don't know if you wanted I mean, we can get back to that, I guess, but it starts off like, I just wanted to mention that this is an accidental, like, Harold Ramis, like, the writer here, what's his name here, Danny Rubin, and Harold Ramis wrote this movie, and it was not a Buddhist movie. They were not trying to be Buddhist and try to teach Buddhist teachings. The writer, Danny Rubin, was reading Anne Rice's Vampire Lestat, and he was thinking about, like, what it is to be a vampire and to live forever, and how boring it must be, and to have every day, another day of being alive. And so, like, that a vampire is like the opposite of a Buddha, or an enlightened being. And so somehow they transmuted that idea of, like, a vampire living forever, and what would it do in its time of being alive. And incidentally, Jim Jarmusch did that movie. It's called Only Lovers Left Alive, and it's fantastic. It's, oh my God. It's like, what if a vampire wrote Shakespeare? What if vampires did live forever? They would be the best artists and the most enlightened, like, evolved humans, because they can do it all in one lifetime. And anyway, so, like, that's a very good film. Everybody should check that out. Jim Jarmusch is a great director, genius. But so that's kind of the idea of what they were trying to go for, this eternal life, but they weren't thinking about the morality factor. But in order to make it a good Hollywood movie, they had to make it, like, wholesome and good and put morals there, and it turned into this, like, Buddhist masterpiece, which I think is really interesting, and I had to say that. Okay, so the everyday being, waking up and hearing, I got you, babe, ba, 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 ba. That's like, I'm born in a body again. I got you. I got my body again. Yay. Like, he died all those times, and then he's like, ba, ba, da, da. It's like a triumph, And so let's talk about the levels of consciousness that he goes through, because like, it starts with, oh, this is hell. Oh, and then he gets drunk with these guys at the bar, and he's like, yeah, every day is the same. And they're like, yeah, I know. So, and it's like me and the people I work with at the factory. It's like, yeah, every day's the same. You know what I mean? And they're just getting drunk just to deal with that, and that kind of consciousness of like being drunk and like, this life sucks, So he's going through that. And then he says, what if there was no tomorrow? And they were like, if there was no tomorrow, we wouldn't have any hangover. We could do whatever we want. And he's like, oh yeah. And it dawns on him. And he's like, I can do whatever I want with this body that I have every time. And so then the next scene is his right hand is reaching for some cake, and he's like, and he's getting all the life and feeling all the feelings. And, and he's talking to this woman that he's interested in. And she recites to him a poem, and like, it's by Sir Walter Scott, and it's called Breathes There the Man. And this is the state of him not enlightened, and she's like looking at him as like, you are gross. And like you were saying, like everybody else is good, like she too is good. She's a very wholesome, wonderful woman, and they're all waiting for him to come along and become enlightened. So this here is the poem. Breathes there the man with soul so dead, who never to himself hath said, this is my own, my native land, whose hearth hath near within him burned, as home his footsteps he hath turned, from wandering on a foreign strand. If such there breathe, go, mark him well, for him no minstrel raptures swell. High though his titles, proud his name, boundless his wealth, as wish can claim. Despite those titles, power and pelf, the wretch, concentrated all in self, living shall forfeit fair renown, and doubly dying shall go down to the vile dust from whence it sprung, unwept, unhonored, and unsung. That's where she ends. And then he like laughs with like a bunch of stuff on his face, like, okay. And the poem continues. O Caledonia, stern and wild, meet nurse for a poetic child. Land of brown heath and shaggy wood, land of the mountain and the flood, land of my sires, what mortal land can near untie a filial bond that knits me to thy rugged strand? Still as I view each well-known scene, think that is now and what hath been, seems as to me of all bereft. Sole friends thy woods and streams were left, and thus I love them better still, even in extremity of ill. By Yarrow's stream still let me stray, though none should guide my feeble way. Still feel the breath down Ettrick break, although it chill my withered cheek. Still lay my head by Tevoit stone, though there forgotten and alone, the bard may draw his parting groan. That's the end. And the bard, is it like Shakespeare? Is it? Anyway, and then she's like, don't you worry about anything. Love handles cholesterol. And he says, I don't worry about anything anymore. He's lost all fear. And he's gotten to this next level of consciousness where, okay, I'm here to enjoy life and to eat all the good and to feel and to be the rich, and so then he turns his attention to fornication with women and like, and then he's trying to mind control them to get what he wants from them, so there's that level of understanding. And then he grows from that to, others exist. And it's like a natural progression that happens slowly. And this film kind of takes us there. And it shows all of us how like we should all recognize like stop eating the cake and, you know, chasing the ass. Like, look around, people are suffering. And, you know, like that is the common, that's how all souls have to go through, right? We start as ego maniacal a-holes that all we care about is ourself and feeding our senses, and then we grow and we become better people, right? Isn't that what Buddhist teaching does for us?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things that are, interesting about the movie in the sense, just going back to, start out with, is that I think it is actually unique in that if you look at a certain period, starting even in the 60s, there's a lot of negative portrayals of small towns, right? How many horror movies are set in small towns? Think about Children of the Corn. Think about, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a lot of negativity, right? Towards, you could call the flyover lifestyle, right? And that's even that's very common, right? It's sort of like, Hicktown, this, that. And now, of course, we can see in our current environment, that small town environment is kind of, a lot of places it's not really there anymore. In fact, it's the opposite, right? But this was the fabric. This was the heart of America. So, going even Thornton Wilder, right? I mean, so there's been a lot of negative portrayal of this backbone of the community, right? That's one thing. And they're very cheesy, right? I mean, they have all these like little cute things, and he comes in as a cynic. But in a certain way, I think they actually tried to put in a lot of this messaging, and somehow it was almost like the film made itself. I mean, you know what I mean? Not that it made itself, but in a certain way, like
Exactly. Yes, I agree. Go,
eh,
please.
but so, for example, like the suicide scene, though, right? Like that, there's a lot of scenes of suicide. There's a lot of imprinting of that in film, and you can see that there. Like, for example, what was it? Oh God, I just forgot the name. Inception, right? They're going to dream. How do you get out of the dream state? You commit suicide, right? So these things being embedded in
Whoa.
films, I
Yeah.
noticed that. But then also, just making it in a certain way, it's just like we don't like, we don't care about the explanation. How did he get here? There's not even an attempt,
Right.
and he kind of rolls into, oh, okay, I'm waking up the same day. You know what I mean? Once that's not that jarring for him. Once he gets it, it doesn't take long, right? But it is in a certain way that's, I think just to go back to the point that, in fact, the philosopher Martin Heidegger talks about thrownness, right? We are thrown into this. If we look at our actual situated being, right? Where we are, how we are, we're being thrown into this environment. We didn't, do we, you know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, wait, I'm this like living organism. And wait, as soon as you take away some of these veils, it has that, wow, we don't really know that much, right? Or we don't even know there's a mystery at the basic, what is as it is. There's something there that no matter, you can add a lot of language to it, but there's something inherently, unknowable or continuously evolving, right? So anyways, so I think, again, just to give that point, that I think they did their best to make it into, they had, these, seducing all the women and this and that, and they did their best to make it into the negative portrayal of this or that, or feed a lot of these messages, but that negative messaging got completely subverted, which is pretty, wild. And I think essentially it was supposed to be a very superficial film, right? It wasn't supposed to be any, it's kind of like a slapstick comedy. It's a rom-com. It's a romantic comedy, pretty low bar, not your most cerebral genre of films, generally speaking. So anyways, I'll leave it there. But yeah, I think these are just an interesting thing about that movie.
Isn't it so remarkable that this movie made itself? Like, I mean, these just human artists doing the art, creating the creation, and this happens. It just bubbles out. Like, they start with like, oh, let's think about vampires. blood drinking monsters, and then by the end it's like this lovable like rom-com, and they wanted the script started with um we jump right in the middle of the loop where we see Bill Murray wakes up every day. He yells at the dude at the top of the stairs. He punches Ned Ryers every day. And they're like, what? I mean, we're supposed to like, what is this? What is going on? And like the studios were like, you can't do that. They just didn't allow it. It doesn't make sense to them. They wanted more story to make sense of it all. And I think it would be really funny that, for us to have to understand where Bill already knows he's in the same day again and again. But, or what his name's Phil, I guess, in the movie, but I call him Bill because of Bill Murray. But that's how they wanted it to start. And then they were like, oh, well, pull it back a little bit. Okay. So then they're doing, like at the studio before, and then like, and then it gives them a chance to have more of the female character exposed. And so like it kind of turned into the way it is now. They wanted it to be more jarring and more like unexplained, you know what I mean? Because that is really, we are here in this place and it is unexplained and we can't know why. Like the only thing we can do is intuit and to like learn, I guess, and from others who have like thought and felt before, like the Buddha did, and like all of the teachings of all of the Buddhists that have written down everything they thought, all the libraries, like we have that. And I guess we have the Akashic record inside ourselves if you want to get to that point. But what I'm saying is that like we, I guess I don't know what I'm saying. I'm sorry, but really like it. So it turns out like it starts with him, he's chasing the women, and then like he recognizes that he's carrying over something. Like at first he's carrying over like, oh, that woman is from this high school and she had this teacher and he's going to use it to get her into her pants. Right. But then he learns to play piano. And then he's carrying over the talent and the experiences. And so like that too is something that we have it's like we don't know it, but we do have this carried over sense. We're not only taking the karma with us, we're also taking information almost. It's weird. It's weird to talk about, I guess.
So at one point though, see in Buddhism, like, so one thing is obviously neglected is there's no consequences to his actions. So that's the thing. That's the real core thing. He can do whatever he wants. Right. But yet he's carrying over the knowledge and wisdom. Now, to be able to say access some knowledge from a past life doesn't happen that often. There may, or even ancestral, whatever, there may be kind of talents. You're just able to do something, but to actually directly have access to that knowledge and know where it's coming from. Right. You know what I mean? Like there's people, they're just,
that would be the perfect gift. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Right. Natural athlete or whatever. But so that's one thing to really bear in mind is that there's no consequences. He does whatever he wants. So this is where it is like the fantastical element, but then also like, oh, just do whatever you want. Now he does go from it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he goes from the hedonistic phase to the nihilistic phase, right? So he goes from hedonism to nihilism. Is that? I think so.
I think that's true. Yeah, I think he starts killing himself after he was banging the women. Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes from hedonism to nihilism. But the other thing is that the one way, if you look at the fact that every day, in this sense, we are waking up, we can carry over what we know. We have this continuity, but it's very possible to keep living the same day your entire life. And it's also possible to step outside of that, but it's like it's a radical separation but it's the mundane world suddenly becomes, I think it's really just the grounding of like, just this here and just seeing the world around you, which can be kind of just, if you just look around you and see, and you really experience that, hey, okay, this is this day, this summer day. I'm never going to live this day again. I miss seeing my son today. That day's gone. I'll never see it. They'll never come back. You know, um, and you can see just the way, you just the ground, the way the streets are torn up, the way people just move in these shifting. You can see people that are cycling around, just going around the same circles, the same loop patterns of their lives. Sometimes you connect, with people you haven't seen for a long time. You reconnect with them. They're the same that they were. They'll bring up the same stories.
Yeah.
And that's, but think about that. So this is where we have these sort of potential the loop patterning, where you're not going in, you're not in the stream of the unfolding potentiality, but you're just in this circle that's both created by the mind, created by the environment, created by your attachment, and created by your actions. They continue that loop.
Isn't that the negative? Isn't that the reaction to the bad karma, where if you do the bad thing again and again, then you're stuck in this bad place again and again. And he is feeling like Rita slaps him a million times. Like he is learning the lesson in that day. And then he wakes up, like he does get some of the consequences. Like he's put in the jail cell, but then he wakes up, out of the jail cell. So like, he's given little bits of karmic repercussions, in the day. The next day, he's not getting it. It's not like it's accruing like a regular lifespan. I understand where you're getting at with that. But so like this everyday carrying over, it ends up like he carries over this knowledge, and then he uses that to help others, right? Like, so he's saving the kid from the tree falling, and like he's saving the mayor, whatever, from choking on the stake. And so like in the beginning, he's using this gift of knowing the future or whatever, for his own, feelings and stuff. But then he turns it outward towards like, I love the world and I want to save everybody in it. And it comes to a natural selflessness. Can you talk about that in Buddhism, and how do we get from the nihilism to the selflessness and the care for others? Because that's really what this movie is doing for us. It's showing how to turn ourselves from an egotistical a-hole into a loving man. And it's showing young boys how to court women and like actually care, and showing all of us how to not be an a-hole. So it's helping all of us who are in this cycle of samsara, look at ourselves. Look, you are Phil. What are you doing? And it gives us that chance to, really take control of the day, seize that day. And yes, it's the only day I have where I could visit my son, or I could, do this thing for work, that whatever, and then we make the right choice, go towards love. And anyway, please.
Well, just a couple different things. Like one thing in a certain way, so, the one aspect is that, I always say, live in the moment, live in the now. Well, what is a moment? A moment is just a micro fragment of time. You can never live in the moment. It is a micro fragment of time. Even immediate, the only thing that is absolutely immediately present is the direct sensory signals, but that's prior to even they get processed by our brains, right? So our eyes, they're these balls filled with fluid, and they're just like these liquid globes, and then there's the light waves come in and they go through all these different processes, and then they get the light waves get converted to like they cause chemical reactions that send these electrical signals down our nerve pathway that goes, and it goes through various stops along the way, right?
Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
just to see, but of course, seeing that's okay. That's the you say the scientific medical view, but I mean, like the fact is, how I'm just interrogating. I think one of the good points of the movie, in a certain way, we are living the same day over and over again, unless we make a shift in that, but that takes time, right? You say, okay, I'm going to live in the moment, and maybe, you want to just go, whatever. And maybe we played the song Cats in the Cradle last night. I think of that song, but that's it. But that's like,
Makes sense.
there's things though, but these things are missed in a process, right? They're missed over time. So even just one day, oh, I'm going to go hang out. But then if that's just a one-time thing, you don't change your direction. You know what I mean? So it's that idea of what you can carry over, but it's also predictability. It is creating the future. This idea that the future is already in the present in a certain way. And this is where I think is interesting. This is the Gnostic side of it. Because a Gnostic interpretation you have in a certain way, well, you look at it as there's a potential, there's different strands of possible predestination, right? There's different directionalities, right? In a certain way, you're predestined to be here. We may have been predestined. Somehow we're sitting here, and there's, thousands of the choices ended up me and you sitting at this particular moment at this morning, right? We could have had completely different lives. Now, but there were paths, right? And you know what I mean? So I think that's what's interesting is he follows these paths for some time. He follows the path of, the hedonism. He follows the path of nihilism, destruction, he becomes a criminal also, right? He goes from violence, criminality. And what to me, at least, so what I want to say is, even though it's the same day, there's a sequence. He has to go through stages in each one of these different levels, right?
Yes. So that's exactly like the stages of our soul as we are progressing, right? It's the same idea, right?
Yeah. And then so what was the question you asked me related to Buddhism? Oh no. So this in Buddhism, there's a concept, right, that all sentient beings at one point were your mother.
Wow. Yeah.
So you should practice loving kindness towards all sentient beings. Yes. Every being should be enlightened. And that is actually that I started out mentioning these two sort of mental framings. The one being that everybody's enlightened but you. But then the other one that says you're the only one enlightened. But with that thing, you have to go and enlighten every single being. And you have to stay here until every being is enlightened. And so it's in some ways it's pretty hardcore in terms of how it's taken. There's a practice called sending and taking, Toglen. And Toglen is supposed to, you practice it when if you're really down, you're upset or whatever. And you imagine you breathe in the black mass of all suffering in the world, like this black mass, all the suffering. You breathe it in, and then you send out whatever you have goodness to heal the world. And it says, like, may the ocean, when I am
like a sponge or something that's just like cleaning all of the air.
And you're clean, but and I'm not explaining why or what it means. Think about it. It's pretty hardcore. It's supposed to be, like I say, so you're really depressed. So what you're going to do is just take in all the darkness of the world, all the misery, all the pain, and then you breathe it in, and then whatever little bit of happiness you have in your life or whatever it is, you just give that away to all beings. And you just keep doing that, sending and taking, breathing in the black mass of suffering, breathing out the white light. And it says, when I am sad, may the suffering of others be mine, right? May I take on the suffering of others. And when I'm happy, may I give that happiness to others so that they can be happy. And so that's practice.
What amazing thing. Like, imagine if the world was full of those people. I mean, holy crap. Okay, so like we can do our part and we can try to transmute that suffering and try to be shining beacons of light for others. So yeah, Bill Murray was feeling suffering to be in this place, and he was killing himself again and again. And then he noticed that everyone else is suffering. And then he started, like, it hurt his back to catch this kid every day. Like, but he says, I'll see you tomorrow, that's the point where Phil Connors has gotten to. Can you talk about that? Like the point where our soul gets to, where we take on the suffering, like just to relieve it from others. I mean, that's please.
Yeah. So there's like, it was something called like the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. Right. So this is, again, people don't recognize, Buddha, and just briefly, there's basically 3 major streams of Buddhism, right? So what's called the Theravada or original Buddhism, and this is this very strict monastic Buddhism. Okay, and so you leave your family, you leave the home, and you basically and you live. You're supposed to be you beg like the Buddha, right, for your food.
Like the dogmatic practice of it, right, where they
it's very strict.
How the Catholics do dogmatic practice of their stuff. It's the strict dogma of stay to the teaching of the writings and like that, right?
Well, no, but it's also like a friend of mine who he lives in Thailand now. I mentioned he probably won't hear this, so he definitely likes the ladies quite a bit, maybe a little too much. But he did this thing for 1 month. He became a monk. So when the practitioners, right? So now, average, the household people will support them, etc. But it actually the actual religious practice is that you give up this world and you renounce everything in the world and you enter into this very strict monastic life where you have no possessions except for maybe a few books and a couple outfits, and you go and you beg for food. You beg for food. You do not. You beg for food and again, you do your service and whatever. And it's very, very intense. So he got his head shaved and he did it, but it's very rigorous. Okay. It's not, it's, and so that's Theravada. You find that old school. Then there's Mahayana, which is more, they say this is a later revelation of the Buddha that was not mentioned in his lifetime. This is more where you get like Amitabha, Pure Land Buddha. All these, you have many, many different, it's not just one Shakyamuni Buddha. There's many Buddhas, many deities. There's all different Buddhas of different, different dimensions, different universes, different, there's this vast cosmos, and then the cosmos itself has all these different layers of different, you could say, interdimensional reality. So say the planet Earth, there's multiple different, basically you could say, dimensional universes that intersect.
Levels of incarnation. Is that what you mean?
No, almost like the whole it's an entirely different. How would you say it? Say if you're sitting here and then you're in an airplane right above the same location, you're still in the same.
Oh, I see.
Parameters of that location, but you're in an airplane, you're in the sky, or you're here.
I see. Like an alternate dimension in the same place, kind of.
Yeah. So that these also intersect, right?
I see.
And then you have, say, Amitabha Buddha, who is, this is called Pure Land. You just basically chant this prayer, and there's I think Oprah, a number of celebrities. I don't know if she is, but some or other celebrities.
Don't mention that evil witch on this.
I don't think it's not Oprah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
It's okay. I have not seen anything about
Oprah. Yeah, she's with the Satanists.
It's not Oprah. It's someone of Whoopi Goldberg, I think. or some, I may be wrong, but
Right.
anyways, but this practice,
she's cool, I guess. I don't know.
yeah,
Oprah is evil. But anyway, go ahead.
but anyway, so this practice was very different from the traditional, totally monastic, renounce the world, hardcore, give up all your possessions. You have nothing in the world. You only live, this is where you just chant this prayer. And if you chant it enough, you'll get reborn in this paradise.
Wow.
So this is a celestial heaven. There's many, many
But that's
different.
almost like sitting on your hands and doing nothing this whole lifetime. And
Yeah.
wow.
So that's sort of a devotional practice, very different. And then there's also,
Right.
and then there's but that's one strand. The Mahayana also has this idea of the great compassion, and things like that. But there's a lot. Then you start getting into tantric and more advanced, and you're using all kinds of different spiritual practices, etc. So these are very distinct from that traditional Buddhism. If you look at them, one is more sort of devotional, or and you can also do good works, right? You get merit and you do good works, and then you can basically go to heaven, right? The Amitabha
Right.
Pure Land is like a heaven.
Right.
There's many other strands of that, right? And Vajrayana, the diamond vehicle, incorporates a lot of stuff like tantra, like different types of visualization, different types of energy practices, things like
And
that.
that's kind of the basis of the Western magic tradition. Like, the more I read and learn, like that tantric practices are like, that's what Kundalini is. And that whole serpent rising from base chakra to top chakra and all of that stuff is like the basis of like what Blavatsky was teaching and what Crowley was getting at. And like Crowley started as a Buddhist doing yoga and climbing mountains and stuff, but then he ended up, so they kind of have the same, like the Buddhists and the Gnostics are kind of saying the same thing, or at least that's how I understand it. But like the Tantra stuff is like, that's like the basis of magic, right?
Yeah, well, tantra is actually is we're just using it in a general sense as a body of a type of practices.
Right.
Okay, so
Tantra just means to do the action, right?
tantra is using, it's like a method or a tool or a technology or a vehicle, or so it's sort of like, it's like method, tool, technique, technology,
right?
Of course it's related to spiritual sense. So we call Buddhist tantra, right? It's much later. This comes about 8th, 9th century AD. So it's much later than the original Buddhism, and much later than technically, and they say this is always existing. So this is a whole huge topic, but the tantra,
all we have is now, like time is an illusion.
No. I mean, this whole topic of what actually tantra is, in terms of this cosmology, the word, being the vibrational, sort of almost like Kabbalah, like the whole all the different vibrational dimensions. And so actually, but one thing that's interesting, if we look at that movie, sorry, going back to that, is, so I talked about there's the more complex cosmology of all these different universes, but there's just the realms. There's the animal realm, there's a human realm, there's 7 hell realms, there's the demigod realms, and then there's the god realms, right? And all of these are realms. They all interpenetrate right here and right now where we are. So you can be in this place and you can enter into the hell realm. You can enter, say the God realm, is like, say somebody, some celebrity or whatever, somebody living like the ultimate life, everything is perfect.
Like Siddhartha's original life, where he could just be fornicating with a female and fall out of bed and not even notice and land in a bunch of flower petals. You know what I mean? Like, while it's still fucking coming, like that kind of life where everything is perfect. But those people are still accruing. I mean, if they're doing bad, they are still getting this karma, like it will come to them. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to explain that to my son too. Like,
I'll just say one last comment.
Please. Yeah. I'm sorry.
So the whole thing though, with the Buddhism, I mentioned the 4 thoughts that turn the mind, but it's a precious human rebirth. So being born as a human being is considered the most precious of any birth, of anything, because the gods want to be reborn as humans, because the gods, even they cannot become enlightened. right? Even the God realm, even if you live for 500 million years, eventually you grow tired of it. Eventually you are stuck, no matter how high you get with that, but only in the unique combination of circumstances of, you could say, the flaws and potential perfections of the human birth in the material realm of space and time, the impermanent realm, can one achieve enlightenment. And so again, this is why the most prized of all, even different, they talk about all these, some teachings are originating from different galaxies and different solar systems. So it's pretty, some of the stuff I don't know how they didn't know about, this planet. One of these galaxies was discovered like 20 years ago. And they say this particular stream of teachings originated there. So there's some kind of anomalous things like that. It's kind of, anyways, but so these realms
just makes sense and fits with everything else. Please continue.
Yeah. But in a sense, in this film, so he's going through these different realms. You can see that human, animal, hell realm, God realm, and then finally that enlightenment, which sort of balances all of them. But then it's the thing about it, it's almost like right where you were, where you could have been right at the beginning.
Right.
But
there was that potential. Every day had that potential to be that perfect day, right? Like,
yeah,
you're right. Like the potential to have the God realm is based on your actions and how you perform that day every day, and we can all recognize all beings we should love them all like our mother, and we should love all life. And once that happens, then this place is heaven. Then we create God realm for everyone, right?
Yeah, no. So the idea is that, in fact, these interpenetrating realms, you could look at them as this vast vector matrices of different potential future states. All of us can contribute to this to a certain extent. We can, whatever part we have can, maybe big, maybe small, but there is a thing, everything. Also this idea that it's called the net of jewels. So if you have a net of jewels, all the jewels reflect and interpenetrate each other. So all being is interpenetrating.
Right.
And so in a certain way, we have the potential to affect far beyond ourselves. But at another level, according to this whole thing, this is all, in a sense, ultimately, it is illusory in terms of what actually exists is this universal state of enlightenment. And it's just it's once we, start moving towards that, then this will manifest in a certain way. This is the philosophically, they say, if it can happen in the future, it's already happened. If everything will be liberated, then everything is already liberated. It must be. So this gets into more kind of controversial stuff, but it's interesting to think of, how, just to throw this at you, is that how, in a sense, like you look at he wakes up at 5:59, then 6, right? And the media and that song, and think about that, how in a certain way, which I'm sure this is not intended by the filmmakers, but think about that, how we talked about the films, how the media and these films create our world, sort of create and how you can live the same day you're living other people's dreams, or maybe not. Right.
Yeah, it gives us like this solipsistic bubble where we just we think the TV is the reality, and and then it programs us, and then everybody else has the shared reality, because didn't you see the news last night? Oh, everybody sees the same, and everybody's programmed the same, and then we become just fodder for their evil tree workings, the Klepoth workings, like we talked about in other shows on my show with you, with like you mentioned Kabbalism, and how, that's the Kabbalism is the same it's like another expression of this, and to go up the tree to the creation is to like become free from this place, you know. If you align your soul with the creative force of Kether or whatever. But then if you look at the evil tree, that's total separation. I don't know. I do kind of want to mention that the way that I kind of said it earlier about how the Gnostics and the Buddhists have the same, like they both recognize they're here in this place, and they're both recognizing the reality of the reincarnation and the trap that it is. The Gnostics kind of are stuck in the, well, I'm not saying all of them, but you know, when we think of Gnostic, we think of, they have a negative connotation. They think this place is a hell, and we're trapped here, and we need to get free. And Buddha got free, you know, Jesus got free, right? Jesus had to do the hard way. But this is how our society is like given that as this is the way out, to be nice and good. And people who want to stay here, who want to live in the world of duality, who love the taste of cake and stuff, they will work with Maya and work with the illusion to create a hell out of this place, right? The way that the people that are doing SRA to the little children, they know what they're doing. They understand, like they're feasting on the pain of this other soul, and they understand that reincarnation is they don't feel, but they also feel like they are working with the forces of nature to do, like Maya itself is a Buddha who is giving pain and anguish to souls in a hell realm with compassion, right? So like this place of hell that we've created is a place of compassion, and we are learning, and it is burning off the karma. I mean, but we've created this like buzzsaw of a reality where just souls go in and you just get shredded. Like, I mean, but you know, the people like let's say Epstein, or people like, you know, the dark occultists, you know, people like Alan Greenspan, or people like, you know, Oprah, like these people they're creating a hell out of this world. And it's like, and we believe that hell. And so we are stuck in the nihilism. So we agree with being churned under with, you know, we give ourselves to the, like the dude chooses to die, like Bill Murray, you know, jumps off a bridge and goes in a bathtub with a toaster, you know, we consent to that. So then this is a consent-based reality. So like the hell is created, you know, and it's like it's a never-ending loop of hell that we are agreeing with this illusion. But Bill Murray wakes up from the illusion when he's seeking love. Like, I don't know if you want to speak to that. What do you think about the Satanists creating a hell realm, working with Maya?
Well, certainly. I mean, so just you know, in terms of Kabbalism, right? So in a sense, it is. In fact, it's not. You don't get enlightened. You become Adam Kadam. You become the Lord of the universe.
Right.
You are above God. God is Ansof, right? Ensof is, you know, if you can, the best. I mean, people.
That's like the pleroma, right? The Ein Sof.
Ansof is like, it's like basically it's, Azazoth and H.P. Lovecraft, the blind idiot god with the mad flooper, flooper.
I gotta
flawless.
read that, dude. I gotta.
Yeah. Azazoth. But in a certain way, it's chaos. Right? This belief is that there's just basically primordial chaos and some laws, but there's all of these vectors and factors of energy and different dimensionality, because that's what all these what the John D, the spheres, right? These spheres are, in fact, that's what I'm referring to on a very, not in a very small scale, right? But that's a way of touching some of these different dimensions, right? I was talking about, you say a realm is much broader, but the dimensions are these intersections. So you're basically you're using the force lines, configurations. There's an understanding of it, right? And you can draw energy off of others. It's sort of like a hack, right? Because in a sense, not saying just Kabbalah, but a lot, people like, if you just want power and control, I mean, they are like, they're in the God realm, like, they think they're beyond God. And that's the whole point of that. But then the hell realm, it's, what it reminds me of is the way is Jacob's ladder, doesn't it, kind of?
Right. Yes. How like they're demons when you don't want to be there, but there could be angels freeing them, like that whole Danny Aiello speech to him as he's cracking his neck. He's like, you could just change how you think of them. They're not really demons. They're helping. Is that where you gonna with the Jacob's ladder?
Yeah. Or also, though, that you're in this dream, like you are.
Oh, right. Yes,
and it is possible to wake up, and people may have had the experience. You wake up and you realize you may actually be living in some type of a hell realm, and you're not even aware of it. Yeah. And when you recognize that can be very unsettling. Yeah, unsettling. But it's not going to be, generally speaking, unless you're like you're really in a bad way in your material existence. It's going to be maybe more subtle, but it's very possible. It doesn't necessarily mean you're trapped, but there are things that may be pinning you down and the people that you're around, and maybe a lot of energies, and you're stuck in this. And then one of the things, though, it may feel very comfortable.
Right.
And then once you start to see that, you're just going to want to not see that.
Like the bardos keep you trapped, and it's like a sticky place that's a trap for you to get comfortable and to stay there, right? Is that what you're?
Yeah, or just that it's just, it's what it's what you've been told that They're always, at least until you've, made that choice. So certain way, like Bill Murray, you can look at him as he wakes up. Think about that as that whole premise think about that as an absolute hell realm, right? Without the progression, every day you have to live the same day.
Yeah, we could see it in his face every time he woke up. He was like, no, because he was in a hell realm. Even though everybody was so nice to him, I mean, all he had to do was just step in a puddle a couple times. Like, it's really not so bad. But anyway, go ahead.
No, but to think about that, like that, what I'm saying, see how this ties in, right? So in that way that he finally, at the end, he recognizes, well, I think what it is, the turning point is that old guy, right? He tries to save that.
Yes, he tries to save the dying man. Please,
and the man still dies. And that is the turning point where certain things you can never change. These are, and that is, and then I think he just goes into this, then he just works for just keeps learning. He still wants to get the girl, right?
Yes.
Who's also Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, right? The other half of his soul. That's where the Gnostic thing, where you have, as a divine being, you have both a male and female part of your soul, and you're separated from that. And once you unite, it's almost like you're uniting the universe too, right? But, and so that it's like so in a sense, she is like Sophia also, right? The goddess of wisdom.
Yes. And when we first see her, she's on the green screen, and her head and hands are like floating in this nothing space. Like, it's really cool. Like that. And that relates when you said Sophia, is like, oh yeah. Like that's when we first see her face, is like.
Yeah. That's interesting, actually, how she's coming in and out.
Yeah. Of like the green screen world, like, like on the video screen,
Yeah, her
she's
hands
like halfway, like her body's
yeah.
disappeared, but her hands and her head,
Yeah.
like her will and her
And she's just
thoughts.
laughing. It's funny.
Yeah, giggles and happy. Yeah,
Because but she's like,
yeah.
and you know, in a certain way, like she's waiting for him to wake up. She's waiting.
Yes.
You know, and it is really her that causes a change because he can get anything he wants in this world, right? He can sleep with any woman. He'll eventually, even in one day, he can seduce them because he learns enough and he can just keep trying again. You know, he can get money, rob banks. He can, you know, even master whatever skills he wants to, including like ice sculpture. But she's the one stumbling block for him, right?
Right. And that's the reality of this world is you can't just take another person. He can take everything in this world, but then when he gets to another person, he needs their free will choice to agree, you know, like you can't take from her, like he can't just rape her, you know what I mean? If he loves her, like it's such a silly concept to rape something you love, but I mean, like he can't just take her. He has to convince her to want him. And that's like the whole thing of like courting a woman, you know, but still like to like, you can't, all of a sudden you're powerless. Like he's this god of the realm and he like controls everything, knows everything. He even knows everything about her, but she has to choose in that moment to agree to whatever scenario he puts in front of her. And, you know, and then he has to do it again and again and again because she's too smart for him. Like she's not going to be like taken advantage of, you know, but the final time when they do actually combine the male and the female in their bodies and to create magic, that happens in true love, where she totally sees him and he's totally seeing her and not trying to possess her or control her. And then the magic happens, you know. And that's like a real lesson for all people that are alive, you know. This movie is like helping people to heal themselves. But
Well, you know, the thing is, just to bear in mind, so
yes,
no matter what he does, right, he cannot capture her. It's only by changing himself.
right.
And then once he becomes worthy of her by his own self-transformation through his actions, through his change of heart, through his, you know, then she accepts him. But he never conquers her. He raises to the level. And once he's on that level, she just takes him. She takes him. He doesn't have to do anything. It's effortless, right? But he transforms himself first, which makes it really interesting, right?
Yes.
And so that's
the perfect message, really. And that's what is Buddhism. It's helping people transform themselves. It's the way of recognizing this reality, coming to terms with we have to be here and be in this world and in this realm, and like not doing nihilism, recognizing it's a gift and that we can love others, you know. And once you're loving the others, then it's a paradise, then it's the God realm, and then everything is magic and works perfectly. And the things that he doesn't control, like, are all reflecting beauty and kindness back to him. Like he generated all this goodness. And then like at that party when he's doing the piano, but then he's dancing, and then everybody comes to him and says, "Thank you, I love you." You know, he didn't make that happen. Like it was, they are choosing to reflect back to him. And then like, and it's showing all of us that this is like, this world responds to ourself. And I mean, that's what Buddhist teachings do too. Like this world is like reflecting back at us what we create out. And that's like, you know, the secret and all that crap, like all the, but really like what, that's what this is. Like if I am generating nihilism, and like then I'm going to get arrested and thrown in jail and try to kill myself by playing chicken with a train, and having a marmot on my lap. You know, like that's where you'll end up with the nihilism. But then when you tune your heart to love, then it ends up everything falls into place, and you become part of this greater flow of you give up the control, I guess, and then you fall into the flow of the kindness and love of everyone else's. I don't know. I guess I can't really put into words, but I'm struggling here. Hans, take over.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, Sean. And actually, I just saw the time here, so we're just gonna keep this a little bit short, just about 90 minutes. That's okay. If you
That's fine.
Another part, but yeah, I think that's a great, concluding thought. In fact, the thing is, I was about to respond to what you were trying to say, and then as I said that time is out, the bird flew out of my mind. The magical bird of wisdom escaped. So wait, go back a few words. You were just saying. The message. So the message in a certain way is that, I think there's a couple of different messages. One of them being that, you think about people and maybe even yourself, your listener or whatever, but, you know, I, people that, that they either they have a very powerful centering on something, right? Either they must be in control, they'll keep taking or they'll sow dissension among people. They'll always be complaining about a person, or they'll talk about some, tragedy, unpleasant unhappiness in their life, or, their ex-wife, or, their boss, or this, you know what I mean? And even those things can change, right? The characters, the placeholders can change, but the same process is there. I'm a victim, or I must take power, or these people are bad, and I'm sort of, or else just there's a type, something's just be unhappiness, or even just people that are, really depressed, this is that, but so much you can see people, they are locked into, okay, maybe your parents are really awful, but if you're still locked into that, what they did, or you're locked into what this person did, or what they didn't do, or what you should have had and you didn't get in your life, and you deserve it, and fuck everybody else, or whatever it may be. That is what will keep you going in that same Groundhog Day.
Right.
The days will change, the calendar will go, but you're going to be in that same day. And so in a sense, what we see is that what I mentioned about the realms being interpenetrating is that you can have the exact same circumstances. You can have exact same situations, but as you transform your level, suddenly, you'll be able to, the circumstances most likely will change that you don't like. They'll disappear because they're not, you know what I mean? Whatever is holding those circumstances in place will dissolve, or even the circumstances are the same. You'll see it in a different way. And as you said, the fundamental thing is this idea. It's the most difficult thing and the most easy thing in a certain way. But if you it's a shift, and, it's not that, necessarily you have to say, I'm just going to, roll. There's a lot of things people do for service now, and, donation, charity, that's actually for themselves. They are probably helping, but they're giving an identity of helping, but to actually, I think, to start with what we start out with is like, what the hell is going on here? I don't know why is this here? Like the Talking Head songs, you may find yourself living in a shotgun sack. You may say, how did I get here? And that's exactly, days go by, water flowing underground, once in a lifetime after the money's gone, right? So that's there in the background, right? And then the potential to say, but actually first say, like, I don't say, wait, maybe I may have not a good life, but there's people, what can I actually do to benefit the world? There's so much suffering in the world. My suffering is really trivial. And I can still succeed and earn money and do whatever I'm doing. But what if I shift, just recognizing that and say, I want to try to do something? And maybe you start out with, like, wake up in that Groundhog Day. I don't know how to do it. I'm I'm so lost. I don't know how I can find that, but I want to find it. And as soon as you take that step, I think, and you do from the heart, right? From the heart. And because, it's like, then I think then you start, then I think you can find your circumstances. And what seemed terrible is not that bad. Or it's something maybe there's a lot you have to do. Maybe you have to do a tremendous amount of work. Maybe you have to, you made all these mess of these relationships. You have to do a lot. Well, you go do it. Then I think then, so, and in some ways it's very subtle. In some ways it's very concrete, right? You could witness this maybe in yourself, in the world around you as it is, right? Not as it is, as these arising material senses, mind, imagination. And so one last thing I'll say, and I really appreciate bringing this movie. This is the great use of the imagination, right? We are given this wonderful faculty of imagination. In this film, we can imagine ourselves living the same day. This is how imagination allows you to grow, to experience, and connect with different things, right? Not, not go into psychotic chat GPT reality breaks or whatever. You know what I mean? Or other people imagine a lot of things, but this is a positive use of imagination. So it's a wonderful, healing, inspiring movie that, even though, somehow it, like I said, I think they couldn't stop the train, or it just happened. At least my understanding, right? The directors, like, they weren't trying to make it like that, but to make it, you have to have your conflict. Otherwise you don't got a movie.
Right.
So it's a love interest, but then she becomes this incarnation of, it's almost like your soul. It's like your divine half but they're always there. Okay. So, but anyway, Sean, I'll let you close out here, but thank you so much for coming on the show. It's amazing. And it was just a great choice of topics, and, getting away from the doom and gloom a little bit into the wonderful light potentially there for all of us. So.
Yeah, goddamn. I just love it. I put the film on a flash drive, and it was on the list. And after we finished watching one movie, it just played, and I was like, oh yeah, and I was just like so happy that the movie came on. And then I start into the whole thing, telling my wife about all of the thoughts that we were just talking about and how awesome this movie is, and how it's I was telling her it's the only good movie of the 90s. All of them are Eyes Wide Shut, or the freaking, The Ninth Gate, or these evil, and, or Fight Club, where the dude's shooting him on his own head with a gun. And but then this movie is it's a diamond in the rough. And I'm so glad that, and I was thinking I need to talk about this on the show, because I was so animated talking about it with her, and I was we need to do I need to do a show. And I was the first person I called was you. I was this is perfect for Hans, and we need to talk about this. And I'm so glad that we could. And I like what you said earlier about how about the realization that we can have, and when we I see it in my own life. When I have changed, and when I focused on myself, and this place is hell, it turned into hell, and it was it was concretizing it. It was making it more real because I focused on it so much. And then I got to the point where what am I doing? I have this chance to be here. I'm a dad. I have, life is happening, and I am going to be here, and I'm going to be the best self so that I can remember it in the future. I will remember good things, instead of being oh man, we always regret the things we didn't do, So I'm here in the moment. I'm living the day now. And as this is it's turning around, it is changing. All the people that were nasty and evil to me have changed. And it's not because, that's true. Everybody's growing, but I am shining a different energy. And I have gotten there because I view this illusion differently. And I'm no longer in the nihilism. And sometimes it's tough when my show, I talk about SRA and like evil Satanism, and like, it's tough to recognize that this is a good place and it is a beautiful heaven, and it's up to us to create that. And movies like this help us to remind us to like what is real. Like, oh yeah, I do love my wife. Oh yeah, being family is most important. Like, oh yeah, like who cares about the day-to-day crap of like work or what, whatever. Really what matters, what you're really going to cry about later is the love and care and how you interact with others. And so that's how we turn around this world, and I've seen it in my own life. And Groundhog Day is just this beautiful thing that was created, and I'm so glad that we could highlight that. And Harold Ramis, like, he would always, like, it's not a Buddhist movie, he would deny it, but before he died, he recognized that this is a Buddhist masterpiece, and he's so happy that people have found such benefit from this piece of art that he's created. And he is a master filmmaker. Like, he has done many good comedies and such. And it wasn't, Bill Murray wanted it to not be funny. Like, he wanted to go like really like, and Harold Ramis kept it funny and kept it on this happy. And somehow, like, that too is the energy of the Buddhist message, is to keep it on the happy and the good. Like, it would have been a Gnostic hell movie if it went Bill Murray's way. So somehow, like, the human essence of the artists created this. It bubbled out and flowered because they were true to the process and they allowed it. And so their human selves created this perfect human movie. And I'm so glad that we could talk about it. So yes, my show is Wake the Dead. People should check it out. onegreatworknetwork.com/Sean-McCann has all my stuff. And there's a donate page there. And there's a place to order t-shirts. I make anarchist designs, and I put them on shirts and items and such. I think I'm going to start doing prints of images on posters and canvas prints and stuff. I think I'm going to broaden out into the photography too. I'm a photographer. I do that. So look for that, I guess. And thank you, Hans. You're a good friend, and I'm glad to share this time with you. And I hope that your show gets on track again, and we can, put it back on the rails. And to hell with Spreaker, that, they're censorious bastards, and it sucks they took your money, but we can shrug that off and move on, because you got some good work and a great mind, and everybody wants to hear you. So I'm glad that you're doing it still. Don't let them discourage you.
Thanks, Sean, for showing up. I guess, well, maybe the first or maybe second official. Actually, I got one show in the can that I have to edit. But basically, we'll just say that because you did the first show of the first show, so that we'll just say this is the first show. Your official, right. I changed it to number one. I could post it, whatever. Okay. But it is, there is a thing where really this, if the Buddhist thing, this is impermanence. You're supposed to meditate upon impermanence, on, you're going to die. Everyone you know is going to die. Everything around you will die. There is nothing that lasts. Nothing you think you hold on to is going to last, period. And there's all these different meditations, and it's pretty hardcore. But the fact is, who's going to deny that it's true? It is true, right? So, but that being said, it doesn't feel that way to us. We have to remind ourselves of that. And that's an example of the power of imagination to extend forward in time, extend backwards in time. You know what I mean? So we have these different things that are potentially there, but just, what is the best way to optimize what you have and recognize it? And if it's, and I hate to say it, but like if you are in a place that's not good, you had just really be in that place and see it and feel it, because that's what's around you. And just like, okay, just like, it's kind of like, just think about that. Wake up. Well, that's where you start to wake up. This allows you, right? And waking up. And then, again, the way out. I mean, yes, there is the other side of the sorcerer, conjurer, controller, the invisible, right? So he could have gone that way too. He wouldn't have gotten the girl probably, but he could have he could have gone into the way of, of
the Klepoth tree.
Yeah.
Separate from the,
Yeah. I think in a certain way, if you see this intergenerational stuff going over thousands of years, I mean, so there's, maybe it goes back to ancient Egypt, maybe it goes back further than that, who knows? But, there's this stuff there's a lot of understandings that are really kept from people. And so we've really, as I mentioned, I think at the beginning, like, Tibetan, there's no word for low self-esteem, self-doubt. It doesn't exist. That's been, so this, no matter what you talk about SA or whatever, just to find that, just to recognize the reality. And if you find that, you can't, you can try, but just connect and say, well, maybe, or just let me just put a little wind in my sails of my existence and say, let me just try to little nudge towards what can I do to alleviate some of the suffering in the world, or what can I contribute? How can I just be a little bit more present? How can I meet somebody? Let me connect with them, not just my agenda, or thinking about how they're thinking about me, or just thinking about something else and just, mechanically responding, but just really be present with them. And maybe there's something I can offer them. I don't have to offer them physically. I think you bring it, you start changing that quality of your nature, and that will start to have a lot more effects than sometimes just doing, I don't know, running around throwing dollar bills out of a back of a car.
Right. The dollar bills are they're the false, they are the imposter of the real love that you could share. It's just this paper thing that the controllers give you this instead. This is love. And I mean, it is alleviating suffering when we get donations, and God bless you people for giving donations.
Yuki, come here. Yuki, come here. Come here, buddy. So my dog is just, Yuki.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's whining. I think he's doing the
Time
whine.
to pee. Yeah,
he's doing the whine. If I don't take care of him, he's going to destroy something.
Okay. So, well, it's time, and I'm done. I thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, yeah. No, thank you so much, Sean. And again, at hansutter.com, and I will have all the links for my new media empire, Alex Jones. Look out.
I will be sure to share the links and all of the material on my own show for my listeners as well. Please, Wake the Dead listeners, check out Hans Utter if you haven't yet. I don't know why you wouldn't have by now, but please.
I've got a lighting system that costs tens of dollars.
We are professionals here. Oh man, this is great.
Okay. All right, man. Well, thank you, Sean.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.